Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
And crash. You son
Oh, God. Hold on. Pause.
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill. They should have been targeting DC. This is the same thing, and this is what people keep missing.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
You bought GameStop at 400, didn't you? To the moon, baby. To the moon.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That guy over there is Fat Man Zoom. It's
What's
Stock
up?
Watch Sunday. Fat Man Zoom, it is going to be a great show. I can't wait.
Yeah, I got my. Yeah, I'm fired up. It is going to be a good show. I love watching. I like reading the comments. We just sit here while the countdown happens, and that's probably the best part is reading the comments on here. Shout out to the starting five. Jonathan Schreiber, what's up, man? First in. Good seeing you again, brother.
Been a minute.
Memphis Beacon, Alan 316, Sam Cisneros, and Sean Dupuis, who is doing hip thrusts to the music. Loving the beat.
I love how people are dancing to the intro music. It's always the best.
Yeah, for sure. Bro, I'm tired. I ain't going to lie.
I'm tired, too.
It's been a weekend.
I'm exhausted. But we're here for you. We're here with you, and we're glad that you are hanging out with us on this Sunday evening. And there's really not a whole lot that's happening this week, like event-wise. And we always know something can happen. Like we didn't think anything was going to happen last week either, and then Clove went and did its crazy stuff. So there's definitely the what-ifs, or, the stock market says, hold my beer, so to speak. But there really isn't anything too crazy happening in the market this week. We have the Fed meeting, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah, we do. I think it's more just seeing how the trend goes for the market.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a potential another rotation today. We'll obviously get our 5 stocks.
Yep.
But even though there aren't any events, I do expect a lot to come this week. Should be interesting as far as that's concerned, seeing where the attention lies, where the conversation lies. And we know where the attention's going, so make sure you guys stick around. And while you're waiting, just go ahead and hit the like button. Let's just not waste any time.
Let's get it done, people.
But this is Own the Chaos, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to hang out on Sunday.
Yep.
Make it a light Sunday. How was your weekend?
It was great, man. Just kind of chilled and had some fun with some friends, and it was good.
I went down to D.C., was able to catch up with a musician buddy of mine, Mark G. Meadow, shout out. We were able to hang out. I went to one of his shows. He just had a kid, so I was able to finally meet my little nephew, man. So that was cool. But also, that was last night, and I also watched the UFC fight, which we were talking a little bit about.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give this as like a little bit of a bonus for people. I wish I remember, as I'm telling this, if you can pull up the ticker symbol for UFC.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just UFC, but it's not.
It's
Whatever
not. It's
company owns them. I can't remember the name
I
of the
got you.
company.
I'm
I think
on
it's
it.
something with a Z or something.
I'm on
So
it.
anyways, for you guys that watched UFC, I'm a big UFC fan. UFC 263 was last night. It was in Arizona. Had over 17,000 people. It was a packed house. And my favorite fighter, Israel Adesanya, and my second favorite fighter, or 1A, is Nate Diaz. It was some crazy fights. So it was a great night. They crushed it. More importantly, I think a huge thing happened last night for those of you that are interested in that stock. Is it? Oh, shit. It was just on the tip of my tongue. Like Zappa. Oh, shit. I can't remember the name of the company.
It's not Zappos.
It's not Zappa. It's going to annoy me. So anyways, so something big happened last night.
Yeah.
UFC finally got their first Mexican-born champion. And for those of you who don't know, Mexico is a huge fight country. And if anybody follows boxing, it's a big deal when a Mexican fighter wins a championship or wins a belt. So Anthony Ruiz was the first heavyweight Mexican champion. That was huge for boxing in Mexico. Canelo Alvarez, arguably the best boxer out right now, is a Mexican fighter. It just means a lot of money, and UFC has been trying to really grow in the Mexican market and have struggled, and they think this is what they needed. This guy, Brandon Moreno, bro, it's like flyweight, so he's like 125 pounds.
Yeah.
But the dude is a little like machine. It's crazy.
Yeah, so the ticker, the ticker is EDR, so it's Endeavor. I don't know why I was like, I drew a blank with that. But yeah, Endeavor is the ticker. It hasn't done a whole lot since it went public. It went public I thought it was longer ago than this. It just feels like it was, but it was actually the beginning of May. So it just IPO'd.
Is there even a lot of volume on this? I feel like there's not a lot of
really kind of like I'll show you the chart here, guys. So really, only the first couple of days it went off and did really good. One way up to $33, and it has just kind of chilled. But man, if there's anybody who's, I don't know, I guess one of the kings of marketing. I mean, we talk about Dave Portnoy and all this stuff, but we don't talk about Dana White nearly enough when it comes to that sort of thing. So, going to bring this company a lot of money, and is bringing the company a lot of money. But yeah, Endeavor is the ticker symbol. It's EDR, just went public in May.
And I haven't looked into their fundamentals or anything. I'm just strictly talking about the UFC brand and the growth of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's more to it than just UFC. But for UFC, that's big, and they're growing at a massive clip. So that was cool, man. It was awesome watching those fights. My boy Izzy won. Nate Diaz almost pulled off a sick-ass upset. For you that didn't watch it, if you guys watch the highlights of Nate Diaz's fight, the last minute. That's all you need is the last 60 seconds. Him and Leon Edwards went at it.
Yeah, you were saying he got his ass kicked pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, Nate Diaz was getting schooled.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the dude never drops. Like, he never gets knocked out, but he was just getting his ass beat. But the last 60 seconds, he just landed a 1-2, man, and he hit him right on the chin, and Leon Edwards just went like bobblehead. And I'm like, this dude's going to drop, and he just couldn't get it, man.
Yeah.
If there was one more round,
probably,
or even one more minute, Nate Diaz would have finished him. It's crazy. But, man, I love UFC. I love the fighting.
I've always been, so UFC is okay. I mean, I do enjoy watching it, but I think that, I guess growing up as a kid watching boxing is still just kind of like my favorite, when it comes to like that area of sports.
Yeah.
I just love boxing.
Yeah, to your point about Dana White and his ability to market, boxing is just dying. And
and it's sad.
A lot of the shady backhandedness that's happened, a lot of judging issues, and the bottom line is there's too many belts, there's too many associations, and on top of that, there's too much sketchiness going on that's happened over the years that people just don't trust it. And so it is a shame that boxing is just kind of dying. I mean, listen, the only thing keeping boxing really up is, I hate to say this, but it's like
it's the celebrities,
a retired champion and social media.
Yeah.
Like it's like a sideshow.
It is a sideshow. We talked about the Logan Paul and Money Mayweather fight and how big that was and how much the fight sucked, but it still brought in $100 million plus. So that, and that's the kind of like the shame of it all, because I really liked the sport when it was Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson and even Manny Pacquiao. I love Manny Pacquiao. And so it is kind of like sad to just see how it's just kind of like dying off. And it's more, like you said, it's kind of like a circus more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, you got Mike Tyson still fighting. I mean, Manny Pacquiao's about to fight again. That dude needs to just hang him up.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was a cool weekend. But this weekend's going to be good. You want to get into our topics for today?
Yeah, let's get into it. So, we mentioned at the top of the show about what we could see things rotating back into. Literally since January, we've been talking about how there's been this rotation between from growth stocks going into value and cyclical plays, and we still stand by that. I still think that it's worth holding on to those, but there's definitely a shift happening. There was this huge fear of inflation, permanent inflation, and literally this whole time Jerome Powell's been talking about how he feels that it's going to be transitory, it's not going to be a big deal, and there's been so many people basically saying that he has no idea what he's talking about. And this past week, we talked about it last Stock Watch Sunday about how the CPI numbers were going to be coming out for May, and they did, and they ended up coming in at levels that we hadn't seen since 2008. So 5% inflation numbers came in, but it was an interesting, reaction. We saw tech stocks go crazy, which isn't what we normally saw when we saw numbers like that. We saw them for the April numbers in May, and it was like this tech stocks got bludgeoned.
Yeah.
This time around, it was a little bit different, and I wanted to show you guys the chart here that I have pulled up. This is the 10-year yield, and this is something that, and I'll show you as well, Fat Man Zoom. So this is something that I thought was very interesting. The 10-year yield is in a downtrend right now. It's been in a downtrend since April. Really, since it hit those highs in March, it hasn't been able to rise above that. And I think that there's a lot of people that are realizing, a lot of investors that are realizing that perhaps this is transitory. Those CPI numbers that came out, a third of that was made up of used car sales. And that's something that's not going to stick around forever.
Car lots.
Yeah, car lots. Yeah, right. So I think that this right here, the chart that you can see right there, that 10-year yield is definitely going to play a factor. There's now people arguing that this sees at 1.25%. Which is crazy to me because everybody has been talking about how this thing's going to go crazy. And I thought, and it got close, I guess. I thought that we were going to see 2% out of the 10-year yield. And now it's struggling to stay up above 1.5%. Obviously, we still have 6 months of the year left to go. So there's still room for that to move back up. But, if this does move back down to the 1.25%, that makes growth stocks, tech stocks way more attractive now.
Oh, huge. Yeah, because growth stocks and tech stocks, their future value of money, right?
Yeah.
And so, and they're huge cash piles as well because they typically don't really spend that in general. So the future value of money, essentially, if it's going up, they're not able to spend as much, right? Their buying power essentially has gone down.
Correct, yeah.
And then the inverse happens. So if the value's going down, there's more they're able to do with that cash on hand and there's stockpiles. And you look at companies like Facebook and Apple, they have the
ability to grow faster.
Stockpiles, yeah. So the dollar goes further. Bottom line, regardless, these companies are going to do well, but the movement, and it's already happening. And we talked about this. I mean, last week in Stock Watch Sunday, we discussed the perfect portfolio, which we've been saying a long time. Like one of the things we said was exposure, 25% tech.
Yep.
And making sure you weren't out of it, but not over leveraging tech. And we've been saying that for months. But now I think the reopening plays are running so hot, it's the flip. Don't get out of reopening. I'm not going to get out of reopening.
No, yeah.
It's not advice, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not getting out of reopening, but I'm focusing more capital towards the tech. And I've already been making that move.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing it. And we did, I think it was 3 weeks ago, we did our top 10 stocks that could bounce back. We have a couple on our top 5 today. But it was the tech stocks that we were looking at. And so we've seen a couple of them today have already made the move. But there is still so much meat on the bone, as we like to say.
They've gotten beaten down so much. I mean, we talk about Apple that's down 40% from its highs, and a couple of the other tech stocks that just don't make
Apple
any.
40% down 40% from its highs.
I don't know if it is as of Friday, but I know as of beginning of the week this week, it was somewhere around there. So I mean, I know Tesla was down 45 at one point from its highs.
Yeah.
So not quite 50%, but pretty close. So there's just a lot of tech stocks that gotten beaten down. I mean, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit on one of the stocks that I'm bringing up, but we saw DocuSign and how they basically showed everybody, hey, the growth isn't slowing down for them. The demand is still there.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see how the upcoming earnings season, which is just a couple of weeks away, plays out with some of these growth stocks, because I think that's going to surprise a lot of people.
And one of the stocks that I have on our top 5 stock this week, I believe is the stock that dictates the movement for every one of the other stocks. And you guys might know that, know which stock I'm talking about. But I think it's going to lead the charge. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited about getting into those tech stocks. But I'm like, to me, I feel like the position I'm in and going back to the portfolio, feel well diversified, couple moves. And that's sort of my next question that I want to ask about for you is, looking into this week, what's your strategy going into the week? Are there certain moves that you're looking to do, moves you're willing to make for this week?
Yeah, so I did end up getting out of a lot of positions, not a lot, not a lot of positions, 2 positions in particular that have served me well. I made great profit on them, but I also have a lot of reopening and energy plays that I felt as if I had the ability to take some profits on some stuff.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing that with the intention of moving into some more growth and tech, not crazy, not going nuts, but at least making the shift along with everybody else, because at this point you got to follow the money. Right. And so if we're going to start seeing rates come down and the 10 years reacting to those CPI numbers like it's nothing, then I think that it's safe to say that we could start putting some more money back into tech than we had before. And we've talked about this, about not having everything into tech, but also not leaving it completely. I still have some tech in there. Airbnb comes to mind as one that I've never really left. And we've talked about a couple of other ones. But I think that it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this month plays out, because I think that tech could potentially lead the month as far as the S&P 500 is concerned. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. That doesn't mean that you leave any of the reopening plays. I'm still very bullish on oil. I think that continues to go higher. So my oil and energy plays, I think, are going to remain where they're at. But man, it certainly, you can see how things are potentially rotating back into the growth. Yeah,
for sure. Mark D asked if it's too late for oil. So there's your answer for that, brother. I'm really interested. I was very optimistic at how Friday treated Clover. Obviously, that's one of my highest conviction stocks. And that bounce, I mean, we talked about 1350, and that's been my number since before the run. 1347 it came down to, and just bounced beautifully. So it was great. Seeing how that works out this week is going to be very interesting, because had selling off, nothing unusual around the pattern that happened for it. So that's one that I'm just sort of watching and seeing, and I'm not really looking for anything crazy. But just watching to see how that rolls. But that was very promising for those in the crew that are still holding on to it. One of our big call outs that we've had. It literally retraced 50% and then bounced right off of it. Yeah. It's crazy how that happens sometimes. It is. Claudia did decent this week with Clove. Still kind of sideways, no complaints. Things seem to be moving in the right direction. I do want to say that I am so proud of our Chaos Crew folks, people that watch this channel on a regular basis, that don't buy into the hype of like the Reddit. I won't say all of the Reddit crowd, but you guys have seen the comments on the videos that we put out. Like, there's some people that are just batshit crazy about this stuff, and the amount of people that watch this channel on a regular basis that have been so level-headed, that have managed their risk, especially throughout this craziness, has just been awesome. So kudos to you guys for actually following through with it and having an even keeled head about just what's going on and making sure that you're getting yourself on free shares, all that stuff. It's been pretty awesome to see. Yeah, somebody just made a comment in here about how it's like they're bored about the things we're talking about. And the reality is like, to me, that's sort of indicative of the people that just are chasing and gambling. It's like, what do you want? Like, we know that certain stocks are not sexy, but you know what? Gains over the long term are sexy. Yeah. And when you look at something like, just look at Apple's chart, just zoom out 10 years and look at it. Like, it's incremental growth. And there'll be certain stocks like Clover here and there, but overwhelming majority of this channel, it's about being in the game for the long run, being here 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Who gives a shit what happened in June of 2021? Because you're going to forget about, reality is you're going to forget about car lots. Yeah. And so those things that are still going to be around and finding great opportunities. And again, I'm alluding to one of my top 5 stocks. It's like, this channel is really about building a sustainable strategy to be here for the long term. You could trade short term, but be here for the long term and build something that will be around, not, hey, let me just get excited and let me chase this gambling feeling. Like, go play roulette if you want to do that. Like, literally just do that. But if you want to, you should treat yourself as a business, and you should act as such in creating a strategy, having plans, reviewing how you're doing, not just, oh shit, they're talking about AMC like they're dogging on it. Screw these guys. Like, it's just, like whatever the latest thing people are talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't care what you do, but we want to be like, we want to build this community and see people around, and like you stay around by being smart, not being, you know, like this FOMO chaser.
Basically a sheep. You don't want to be a sheep. Sheep have terrible senses of direction.
What's up, Harry Toe? I got love for you too, man. So anyways, that's what I got to say on that. I do think there's huge opportunity, and that's, you know, to the point of our channel, we're looking for great stocks that are at a discount. So if there's something like unwarranted that we feel like a headwind that's material, or news that's immaterial, we're looking for stocks that are great stocks on discount. Doesn't mean we won't do a day trade here or there, or something speculative for YOLO for fun.
I was just about to say that. I mean, like, you know, we definitely take our own level of risk on certain plays, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's not going to ruin our account. It's not going to, you know, we're not going to be done for. So we take a reasonable amount of risk, and I think that's the difference, right? Like, we can have fun with some of the stuff that goes a little crazy, but at the end of the day, we're hanging around no matter what, because we know how to manage the risk.
I don't think people know this. I don't know if I've ever said this, but I have a YOLO account. It's like a small account, and like if there's something I just want to throw out there, but it's not what I'm banking on for the long term, and it's not something. Essentially, it's like my travel account. So it feels good from time to time, but when the overwhelming majority of the things you're trading, and when your main account is in these YOLO meme plays, like, that's dangerous. I wouldn't want to be in that position. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, I want to talk about our top 5 stocks. Can we talk about it?
Let's do it.
All right, go ahead.
So if you guys are visiting for the first time, this is Stock Watch Sunday. Every Stock Watch Sunday, we go over 5 stocks that we are watching for the week. And for me, my first stock that I am watching this week is going to be Fat Man Zoom.
So you're going to watch Fat Man Zoom?
What?
Oh, sorry.
All of the Fat Man Zoom stocks. Just take them all out. Have a good night, guys.
7 stocks. Get
my first one's going to be Affirm.
Okay.
So if you guys don't know anything about Affirm is a buy now, pay later platform, and you're starting to see Affirm all over the place. I shop regularly on, Jeep stuff. I'm a big Jeep guy. If you guys haven't watched the channel or don't know me very well, I've owned so many Jeeps over the last 10 to 15 years. And every time I go on there, I'm now seeing Affirm pop up all over the place when I go to shop for my Jeep stuff. Not only that, but now Affirm is getting into much bigger platforms, not just, a couple of shopping platforms here and there, but we talked about it last week. We had it on the watch list. For those of you who are in the Chaos crew, you know that Shopify now has supports Affirm on their platform as well, which is just massive. This buy now, pay later strategy is going to continue to grow and continue to become very, very powerful as far as this trend goes. And we've already seen about how, the spending that Americans are doing right now is absolutely insane. And now you get an opportunity to not just buy stuff, but then now you can buy stuff and then pay for it later. That's going to be a big business. And we think that Affirm is going to be one of the leaders in this industry or in this area of fintech. And so if we look at the chart on Affirm, it was a perfect textbook.
Cup and handle.
Sell them. Look at the daily chart here, and I actually put this in the watch list for our KS crew members. Hit the join button next to subscribe if you want to be part of the crew. But this came up and tested that 65 mark on Friday and just blasted right through that on that catalyst. And it looks as if it might continue to do so moving forward in this week. The upside's absolutely incredible. I think this is well over $100 stock, in my opinion. And so right now, when it closed at 67.98, I still think that there's plenty of room for this thing to run. So nothing as far as like crazy catalysts are coming for this thing, but I just think that it's been so beaten down, and giving to the argument that we talked about with tech and growth stocks, I think this is definitely falls within that category.
Yeah, I love Affirm, man. And I was looking back when we first launched it. We've been on it. We've been watching it since it went public, but we brought it on the we talked about it on the channel, but we brought it to the daily watch list at the end of January. So it went public in January, the beginning of January. And we brought it, and what we said in that watch list was they're going to be a monster, but their key issue is diversification of clients. That was the very first time, and it's been on multiple times since then. It is still more than 50% off of its 52-week highs, which are year-to-date highs.
Yes, yeah.
It's still over 50% off of it. And not saying it's going to get back up to 140, but I do think that psychological resistance is going to be interesting to move towards 100 and at least be that part of a stock. But going back to that issue of diversification of clients, Peloton, I think at the time it accounted for 30% of their business, which is great. It's a huge partner. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But to your point, I was so excited about hearing this partnership with Shopify, and now Shopify merchants can offer Affirm as a payment option is huge.
Yes.
Ridiculously huge. And I think it's set up a little bit different than the others where merchants can offer like a 4 payment option, but it's great. It allows you to increase your cart, basically your cart value, so people will be spending more money and just getting more general traffic as well. This is a huge partnership, and I think this could end up being a bigger partnership than Peloton.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, obviously Shopify in and of itself is bigger than Peloton, so one would think that this could be something that ends up overtaking the biggest part of the revenue, which is Peloton. So I think this is going to be a great one to hold on to and just be patient with.
For me, the number 2 stock. I wasn't sure in the order I was going to put these stocks, but I wanted to bring the heat early.
I got you. Let's do it.
Zoom, that's the heat. And I had mentioned, before I get into the specifics of it, I feel like Zoom has been a stock that has sort of, when we talk about beta and the volatility of a stock, it's moved, it's had more volatility just because it's been looked at as the poster child of reopening, of stay at home. And so as tech was selling off, Zoom was getting hammered even harder. But I have a feeling, Brad, that as tech comes back, especially the stay at home, Zoom's going to outpace it. And we're already seeing it, man. Since Zoom had earnings, it's done really well. We'll talk about the earnings in a second. But first, I want to talk about Zoom Phone. We've loved Zoom. Fat Man Zoom, it's one of my seven that is sort of the foundation of my trading. So it's a Fat Man Zoom favorite. But Zoom for Phone is the reason why I'm so excited currently. And I want to give you a couple numbers. So Zoom for Phone launched in January of 2019. Mm-hmm. January of 2019, so a little over 2 years ago. This past January, in just under 2 years, they hit 1 million phone seats. Yeah. So 1 million users, let's just say. 2 years, which was a great number, a huge benchmark. They just announced in their last earnings that in April, so January has 1 million. In April, they hit 1.5 million Zoom for Phone users. That growth is incredible.
Yeah.
Now, obviously the pandemic helped with movement, but that shows you to like what Zoom is post-pandemic and what we've been saying since literally people started talking about reopening is Zoom is not going anywhere. And that statistic to me shows that in the last 3 months, as we're planning for reopening, they were able to add 50% more Zoom for phone users. And additionally, beyond that, their earnings were ridiculous. We did the earnings reaction where we were live, and they beat on revenue, they beat on earnings per share, they increased guidance, and they sold off. And I think that was just a natural freak out.
Yeah.
I ended up adding on the dip, and now I finally am back in green on that. But they beat on all those. They increased gross margins. Their gross margins increased from 69% to 73%. That's a 7% increase, which is huge.
Yeah.
On top of that, they projected revenue growth of 50% for 2021 and upped their guidance. There are so many bullish characteristics. It's really hard to give a bearish case for it. It is out there, but overwhelmingly bullish on this stock. So I'm excited to see where this goes. This is only beginning, and we just had a price target increase for it at 450.
Yeah, man. And I think, first of all, good job.
Thanks.
Well done, sir.
Breathe.
I think, too, we've talked about this since probably almost a year, if not a year ago, during, the pandemic and everything, when Zoom was going absolutely crazy, that this platform, the work from home, It's not going away. And I think a lot of people thought that because there was going to be a great reopening, that, everybody was just going to go back to the office, work from home was going to become just strictly hybrid. And we're finding out that there's a lot of people, a lot of businesses that are saying, you know what, we were working even more efficiently during the pandemic, in certain cases, more efficiently than we were, pre-pandemic. And a lot of it had to do with remote work. They did surveys. Employees were happier. They didn't have to commute as much, so the value of time was increased, and all of that stuff. So there's definitely a case to be made that Zoom isn't going anywhere. Not only that, but we talked about how they gave away a lot of their services to healthcare and schools and that sort of thing, and now they're set to cash in on that as well. We look at the chart. The chart looks really good here too. This has really started to move. From its 273 lows, it's now sitting at 366, which is where it closed at on Friday, and it is about to break another resistance. And I think that there isn't really much stopping it to $400 a share if we can break up over that resistance at 366. There's a couple here and there. I would venture to say that perhaps it may have a little bit of a hard time getting up over maybe 395 or what have you, but there's still a lot of running room for this, and it's really coming up on its 200-day moving average at 387, and this is why I think that $400 could come for this rather quickly. Don't forget, they have earnings coming up as well, and I imagine that they could probably shock a lot of people with their upcoming earnings.
Yeah, Julia Roos throwing a little bit of shade at Zoom, but I feel like I understand her opinion. Other people are saying this, which is Zoom is very good, but still trading at a very high. That is not shade. I shouldn't say shade, but still trading at a very high PE.
That's 100% true.
Which is a valid point, and you've even brought that up.
Yeah.
What say you to that? Because I think you also need to factor in the growth is insane.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about a company that's growing 50%, it seems quarter over quarter at this point, and despite people going back out into the open, that's very shocking. And so I think that there's a case that could be made that they grow into those numbers pretty quickly. Now, has it gotten ahead of itself? Of course it has, and we talked about that when it went over $500 a share. And so, but that being said, sometimes that doesn't matter, and the hype train is real. If people really see the value here in Zoom, they're going to buy it up no matter what.
Yeah, and they have a great CEO who is named number one CEO, Eric Yuan, I believe his name is. And on top of that, just all the moves they're making, they're being active, and I think we're going to hear more and more of it. They just launched a capital fund, but the biggest thing is I'm just excited about those profit margins, because if their revenues can continue to increase, their cash stockpile is going to be huge. And look at their market cap and the growth of their cash pile. I love Zoom. Obviously, it's Fat Man Zoom, so I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, not even just, you just look at market share as well. I mean, the competitors, you look at the quality of the product, their competitors have nothing close to what their competitors have.
I got to pause. I'm sorry. I don't mean to stop this train, but this is too funny. Mike B said DCRC, Brad Fam Zoom is bigger than CCIV, QS, whatever. Look at, if you don't believe me, look at Reddit. But he says, trust, I know I've been an asshole lately, Brad, but this is legit SPAC, bro. I respect that, Mike.
Thanks for at least having that kind of self-awareness.
So sorry. Go ahead. Number 3. What do we got?
We can take a look at it a little bit later. So Adobe is my next one. They have earnings this week, one of the few that I think are worth spotlighting. Kroger has earnings this week, but I don't know if anybody really cares about that. So looking at Adobe, if DocuSign was any kind of indication of what we could see from some of the reaction to positive earnings on some of these tech plays with some of the stuff that we've laid out for you guys as well with interest rates and that sort of thing, Adobe stands to make a huge move. Now, I want to preface this by saying that Adobe's already moved a ton over the last couple of days, but I think there's definitely a lot more upside here. I would venture to say that it probably makes sense to either wait to see if it pulls back, and I'll show you guys a chart in just a second to show you what I mean. I think there's definitely a lot of excitement getting around tech. I always stress this, and I stressed this with GameStop, and it did the exact thing I said it was going to do. When you see a huge run-up going into earnings, lots of times you see a pullback because it's more or less a selling of the news type of thing. If people are expecting good earnings and then the good earnings come, they don't have any reason to hold on to the stock anymore because maybe there's not a good catalyst coming up, so they just sell it and wait for it to pull back. I think that this could be a very good opportunity to just watch Adobe after earnings and see how it reacts. If it reacts the way that DocuSign did, though, it could really pop off. Yeah. If it doesn't, then there's definitely some opportunities, and I'll show you guys those in a second. But I think that as we look at tech and how things are moving, that this is definitely one that if you're not in already, take a look and see where it goes. So look at the chart here. I think that there's, an opportunity for this to pull back potentially to around $525 a share. You guys might be asking yourself, why in the world are you showing me something that's $525 a share? Well, I think that if Adobe comes in and smashes earnings like I anticipate them doing, that this stands to reason to be a $600 to $650 stock. That's around 15 to 20% increase in profits if you bought it right here where it's sitting at right now. Yeah. So I think that this definitely has a lot of opportunity. Their estimated earnings per share, their earnings are on Thursday. Estimated earnings per share is at 281. I think they come in, Fat Man Zoom, at 302.
Nice.
I think that they crush it. And that's probably conservative. So the growth here is insane. The cloud computing services are just still going nuts, especially with all of these cybersecurity issues and what have you. Adobe still stands to benefit from a lot of growth here.
All right, number 4, I got Tesla. Tesla, baby. Hadi Shakur, I got you. This is an intricate conversation, but let's just start with the news. It's not even news, but an Elon tweet. It's always an Elon tweet.
It's always
so. Earlier today, Elon had tweeted that Bitcoin will be accepted as a form of payment for future car purchases. There's a roadmap for it, and that is essentially when 50% of the mining activity comes from clean energy. All right. Yeah. So it's cool that he's acknowledging like it's not just, hey, when we feel like it, this is what we need to see is what he says. Okay. So for those that don't know, Bitcoin people were in love with the Bitcoin community, and crypto community was in love with Elon because he was on board with Doge. He was on board with Bitcoin. Tesla announced on May 12th, basically a month ago, they announced that they were going to allow Bitcoin for car purchases, for Tesla car purchases, which was huge. And then subsequently they canceled that. However, that's when they canceled it, was a month ago. So that was a hit, and I think he's been kind of in the doghouse in general. But earlier in the show, I had talked about the fact that we look for opportunities and for things beaten down and for people that are just kind of down on certain things. And people are down on Elon, and people are down on Tesla. They just had China numbers come out for May that were not great. My argument is I haven't seen a trend yet. And I get the argument. I get sort of the case. Yeah. But I'm not stepping away from Tesla. They'll find a way, and they always have, and they always will. I believe in this company, and they're just so far ahead of their competition that I think they're going to do really, really well. And so,
did you see the reactions to the Plaid event? Some of the people that are driving those Plaids, man, they're like little schoolgirls in that.
Really?
Yeah, it was just pretty wild. I mean, the presentation was boring because obviously it's Elon, and
yeah,
people can't get down with that, but the product itself was amazing. Yeah,
so that was released this week, and that was the next thing I was going to bring up. I'm glad you mentioned that. They just released that this week, and I think the hype's going to be around there. And let's not forget, semis are going to be a topic of conversation soon. Any day now, we're going to have semis into the conversation. Yeah. We have the Roadster. We just have a lot of exciting things that are coming up in the pipeline for Tesla. This company is going to be around a decade from now in a dominant position. I believe that. Yeah. I really do believe that. And so, to me, I think this is a great opportunity for me to leverage, I guess the I don't want to say the hate towards him, but basically sort of the heat that Elon is facing. Yeah. Because overall, he's the type of CEO I want, no matter what, whether he says or not. And I would ask, I'm not saying that this isn't available, but I can't think of anything that Elon hasn't said that really hasn't come to light, right? Like, we thought Doge was a troll, but it wasn't. It was actually the truth.
Yeah. So, except for his timelines. He gets a little overzealous about his timelines, about how things are going to show up by a certain date, and lots of times he ends up pushing them back.
But everybody does that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not anything new, and I think that goes to his his just, I guess just his disposition. Like, he just relies on other people. If it was him, that dude just works and he goes nonstop.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not everybody in this world. And so that's like construction. It's like when you build I used to be in hospitality. When you build a bar, anytime somebody set a date on when it was going to open, you knew construction was going to extend.
Yep.
Like, that's just unfortunate, but you have to give timelines, and they don't always hit, and usually they won't. And I think the automotive is the same way. Just stuff comes up, and there's regulatory issues and a host of things. So to my point, listen, Elon, I don't think he has the bone that's like, hey, who am I going to try to troll? He gets ambitious and when he says things, but the guy thinks big, and he's going to say big, boisterous things. Really, most of the things he says come true. Like, he's not lying to people. So, and he got in trouble with the SEC when he was saying, I was in talks to take this thing public. That wasn't a lie.
Private, yeah.
Or private. That wasn't a lie.
Right.
That was the truth.
Yeah.
But this is the problem, guys, and I'm going to be clear. How are you going to get mad at Elon when the dude is doing what you wish every other CEO did? He's speaking his mind and he's giving you access. So on one hand, you're complaining because these CEOs are acting like politicians and are always trying to spin things to sound good. But you have this guy, Elon, Dave Portnoy's the same way, Chamath's the same way, where they spit the truth and you're upset about it. Like, I'd much rather have him do that than have these CEOs that go on CNBC and they're trying to paint a picture and it's all political, where they're like trying to spin a negative into a positive. No, he's going to shoot you straight, and that's the kind of CEO I want to be behind, and that's why I still believe in Tesla, and it's why it's on one of my top stocks.
That is like one of the best arguments I've ever heard, as far as that's concerned. Well done, my friend. Jeff Chow is watching. You know damn well that's going to be a clip. I will say one thing. All of the Bitcoin people that shit all over Elon now apparently don't give a fuck, because it is at 12. Bitcoin is up 12% today.
But do you think it could be because of that?
Yeah. He said that they weren't selling any more Bitcoin, so then everybody just bought it back.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, people are so fickle, it's crazy. But looking at the chart, enough Tesla talk as far as that's concerned. But we look at the chart, and there are some key resistances that this has really struggled to break up over. 610 has been a thorn in Tesla's side over the last couple of days, or over the last couple of weeks, really, and even more so at 630. So watch for those areas. I said that the bear case here, at least in the short term, could be 540. So watch for that even as we come up on earnings. Who knows what could happen? I still think that 540 would be an absolute buy for me. I would load the boat at 540 if it comes down and retest that. But watch for that 610 break. If it holds and makes a move up above 610, this could finally start moving in the right direction. We talked about Tesla being $1,000 stock by the end of the year. Still very much on the table. So we'll see what happens with that. My last stock here is going to be, we're still riding the tech train here a little bit and going along with the theme of tonight. It's going to be Amazon. Now, I know that, a lot of people might be rolling their eyes because here we are talking about FANG again, but FANG has been underperforming the reopening plays, the materials plays, energy by a ton. This has just been a weird year for tech overall, and we've talked about a lot of the reasons as to why, but Amazon continues to make record after record growth quarter after quarter. Yeah. And I mean, last quarter was just like, you couldn't have asked for anything better from Amazon, and Apple too. But Amazon is still, it's been weird the way that it's been moving. And so if their earnings come out and they have another like crazy stellar quarter, if we get some crazy numbers from Prime Day that they actually moved up this year, that I think that Amazon stands to continue to roll. You look at the chart, Fat Man Zoom, and it just so undervalued. And I think that if you look at the way that this has been moving, it's finally back up over that 3,300 mark. And if you guys don't want to buy straight up shares, look at options. There's plenty of in the money options calls that you can get that are affordable, way more affordable than just buying straight up shares if you're into that sort of thing. But looking at this is I think we could see a cup and handle pattern on Amazon very soon. It's shaping up to be that way. So we look at this on the daily chart, watch for a move up above 3,400, and then it could potentially get back up to this 3,500 mark. If we see consolidation up there, and that's a cup and handle right there. If we see consolidation at 3,500, we could see 4,000 this year. I know we've talked about 4,000 a lot,
yeah,
but we've stood by this $4,000 number for months, probably about 8 months, and I'm not wavering from that conviction. I think Amazon should be a $4,000 stock. You just got to have the patience for it. And I think that it could still very well get there this year.
It's the best example of the stocks we talk about, Apple and Amazon right now. Can you zoom out to like September, August of 2020?
Yeah.
If you look at this chart, the biggest thing we talk about is patience and discipline. And you could argue like, hey, I might be able to flip this a little bit. To me, this is a perfect dollar cost average stock.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just keep adding to it. It's, another Fat Man Zoom stock. And so it's one that I just add. I never sell. And 4,000 is coming. When doesn't, I don't give a shit when 4,000 comes. I just know it will come.
Yeah.
And so, if the stock split happens and that's what makes it do it, cool. If the growth continues, cool. Keep this in mind, guys. June 21, I believe, is Prime Day. So Prime Day, here's the thing about Prime Day. Yeah, June 21st and June 22nd is Prime Day. And here's the thing people need to remember about Prime Day, Brad. It's normally in June.
Yes.
Or in the summertime.
Yeah.
Last year, because of the pandemic, it was moved to the fall. So when we get those numbers for earnings that include June, so Q3, I guess that would be.
Yep.
When we get those numbers, they are going to absolutely obliterate them. And so at the latest, I think that's when a sort of move is going to happen. And I'm going to be antsy for those earnings because they're going to have they're going to have Prime Day. They already have ridiculous growth happening. And then Prime Day is going to blow. The number is going to be astronomical in my mind.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a huge catalyst for it. Q4 will be interesting, and it's a whole nother topic of conversation. But we need to talk about these types of stocks because it's not an under $10 stock that's going to have great volatility, but it's just going to be a steady freaking gainer and wealth creator for people.
I mean, from where it's at, 3,300, you look at this, if it does go to 4,000 like we think it should, that's a very substantial gain. I mean, we're talking what is that, 25 to 30% gains from where it's at right now on Amazon. I mean, if I told you to buy that, you could buy a stock that has really great fundamentals. It's a game changer as far as obviously e-commerce and all that's concerned. And I didn't give you the name of the company and give you all of the benefits that this thing has. You would buy it hands down, no matter what the price was. If you wanted to experience a potential 35 to 40% gain, then you would buy it no matter where it was. So I think that this is definitely in that conversation still for it to go up to 4,000. A lot of the arguments that investors had made or analysts had made was that people were going to go back to the shops. They weren't going to buy things through e-commerce platforms like Shopify, or Amazon anymore once things reopened up. And I think that could not be further from the truth. Habits were formed during the pandemic. They're not going to stop shopping from Amazon just because they can go out and buy stuff now. I mean, they're just not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. There you have it, guys. Those are our top 5 stocks. I love that list, man. I love that list. We brought some good stuff.
Felt good about it.
If you guys want to see our 5 stocks, we actually do a daily watch list. So we send out every morning before the market opens of our top 5 stocks we're watching. We give a little breakdown of fundamentals. We give technical breakdown, all the things. Make sure you click in our description. We actually have a list to the free watch list, or you can go to ownthechaos.com, click on get a free watch list. It's working now, by the way. It's working now. So do that. And make sure you just hit the like. I mean, at very least, hit the like. How many people we got in the house, bro?
We got 237 of you guys in here. We also got African Emporium hanging out.
Yeah.
What's up, Willis?
What up, Willis?
With the donate as well. We appreciate you, bro. So, but everybody else, thanks for allowing us to be a part of your Sunday evening. It's been a pretty good one.
You know what song comes in my head every time I see Willis? I see Willis in the chat.
What's up?
I think of Big Willie. I think of Big Willie. I think about Wild Wild West for a Will Smith song.
Yeah. What you talking about, Willis?
Well, yeah. So that plays in my head every time I see it. I see him do a donation. I'm like, Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado. 6 gunning it. No,
Yeah.
you don't want nada. You're welcome.
Hey, I just wanted to shout out some of our new folks too. I'm seeing some new faces in here. I know that a lot of you hopped on board to the Own the Chaos channel because of some of the things we were talking about Clover and some of the other meme stocks over the last week and a half. I just wanted to say welcome. Hopefully you stick around because we have a lot going on, and we bring in good quality content. I think I might be biased here, but
I have a couple people before we roll out. A couple things before we roll out for you.
Yeah.
One is we got to get back to Callaway.
we do.
FYI.
Yeah. Yes.
Their earnings were just ridiculous last time, and we didn't do it justice. We've talked about it, but we haven't really. We got to go deep into Callaway.
Well, that just bolsters our conviction for
Drive Shack.
Drive Shack. Yeah.
But a couple questions for you. One is, what stock are you most excited about, or you got your eye on this week? Like you're most excited to see what it does.
Honestly, Affirm, I think, is probably the one that I'm most excited about to see what it does. I think the layup or the softball could be Clover, but I think Affirm, if this does exactly what I think it's going to do, then I'm going to be very proud of myself for calling that.
Okay, I have another question. Man, Julia Roos is like feeling you, bro. I don't know. Did you pay her or something? She's talking about your haircut's fresh.
Oh,
you're looking hot.
Thank you.
Looking like a snack. Next question is, she loves that haircut. What's your highest conviction stock, just in general?
Period?
Yeah.
Penn. It's still Penn National.
I actually am like beginning to load on Penn.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yep.
Let's move.
Penn National to 200, baby. Let's do it.
Penn National, still love Airbnb. And I just want to make a note. I'm really excited about Delta. I added to that as well. I just want to say a couple things because I want to be as transparent as I can with things going on in our public portfolios.
Yeah.
International flights are cheap. I think people are going to be scooping them up like crazy. And I think you're going to see stocks like Delta go off because I think international demand is going to be higher than people think it is.
Yep.
So I'm excited about Delta in general. I also picked up Baba. I picked up Baba, and I'll be honest. I'm nervous about it, and I'm trying to remove my emotion from it because I am. Full transparency, I am scared on all the things happening with Baba.
Yeah.
But I feel like the upside is just too big. But I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And I'm really continue to be bullish on Airbnb. I want to keep banging the drum on Airbnb. But still, for me this week, it's going to be Clover. It's got to be Clover just to see if it's continuation or if this sucker goes back down.
Yeah.
So I feel confident about Clover still. And yeah, shout out Mark D to Palantir. Palantir has been a monster. Get that over 25 and let's roll. But that's another growth tech stock that should have huge upside. It was on our list of ones that were near their 52-week low. So should be a good week, man. Let's get that green.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for hanging out for Stock Watch Sunday. If you guys want more of Own the Chaos, we go live Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, just before the market closes. Lots of times we end up covering earnings, if there's any earnings reactions to give. This week it's going to be really slow, but we're going to do our best on giving you other great content as well. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we go live. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. And if you want to be a part of the Chaos Crew, get that watch list on top of other goodies as well. You get trade alerts, access to our Discord group, access to my portfolio and Fat Man Zoom's portfolio, all that good stuff.
We're starting a movement, baby. If you want to be a part of the crew, if you want to come along, join the ride, we're building this community.
Hit that join button next to subscribe.
Sean Ethier, thanks for the donation, man.
Oh, man.
$35.
Oh,
appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. That dude's been crushing it. We love you, Sean.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks so much. Mike B, I tell you what, bro. Bring that tomorrow. Show up tomorrow, and we'll cover it for you, okay? That's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Peace.
Bye.